fR-Render Free is our free finalRender version that allows you to choose one render device. You can either choose the GPU or the CPU, not both. If you want to use both or more or network rendering, you would choose our full version of finalRender. However, the finalRender Free version can do everything you see here, and actually I'm using finalRender Free here right now to show you what you get for free with finalRender Free. One overlooked thing, and I'm pretty sure that you did not know, that finalRender Free comes with its own Ocean object, and it's a fully procedural Ocean object for 3D Studio Max. Let's have a look how it works and what we can do with this Ocean object in 3D Studio Max. You can find it in the Create Objects dialog, and if we go down here, we have our own finalRender section there, and we have several objects that you can get with finalRender Free. And one really valuable object I think we included for free, and which is really amazing, and you can use it with other renderers as well. However, I don't know why you would do that, because finalRender is one of the best renderers you can get. But anyhow, finalRender Ocean is a standard procedural 3D Studio Max mesh object, or mesh, and you can use it for whatever you want. And we have Thinking Particles users using the Ocean object as a space warp or displacement for particles, force field, and you can create really amazing effects with it. So let's just pick the fR-Ocean. All you need to do is click in the viewport and create and open up your ocean. And there we go. We have a 3D object already. Nicely done. And now you might think, oh, that just looks like a simple displacement. What's the fuss about? No, it's not just a simple displacement. This is a real Ocean object with advanced mathematics behind, so that you can create an endless ocean with waves and secondary waves and all this kind of stuff, choppiness and everything. So let's have a short look what you get with finalRender Free. And by the way, if you want to have this Ocean object, go to our webpage. And on our main webpage, there's a free download option, a main menu. Click there and you will find finalRender Free. Take a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of reading to how to get the download and install it, but it's worthwhile. I'll tell you, you get this Ocean object, for example, and many more things we will see. So what kind of settings do we have? So we have settings like the wave height, for example. So we can adjust the wave height. And because I already mentioned that we have a procedural Ocean object, and fully procedural means it automatically is animated. So you get nice ocean wave animation, and we can get this really nice ocean surface and animation here. You don't need to do anything. It's automatically animated, and you get this nice ocean wave animation going on here. That's the cool thing about a fully procedural Ocean object. So, as I said, we can adjust the height of our waves. You can adjust the wind speed. That will also affect the height of our surface or waves and how the waves are forming. And we can adjust the wind direction as well. Let me just spin around the wind, and now we have a different wind direction, and our waves are going in a total different direction. So, and this is all fully interactive, so we can adjust our ocean in real time, can create in real time. We can control the choppiness of our ocean. That is especially interesting with shaders and particle generation, but you can adjust it so that you don't get any issues or problems with our ocean surface. And you can also control the minimum wave length of our ocean waves. So if I increase that, we can see we only get now the longer wavelength, so it looks smoother, and the smaller, the more secondary waves we will get in our ocean structure in here. As you can see, let me just reduce that a little bit more. We have the mesh size. That's actually the physical size of our ocean surface, and we have our ocean size as well, which doesn't do anything right now, but that's the virtual ocean size, the piece of ocean we do the real-time calculation on. Because in theory, or with this procedural object, the ocean is unlimited. The resolution, we can adjust the resolution. Let me just show you the mesh details here. So we have the mesh, and we can increase or decrease the resolution here. And what we have here, we also have a viewport resolution. So let me just reduce the viewport resolution. So now we have a very coarse mesh, and now I can also reduce here the rendering resolution. Let me just dial that down a little bit. So now we reduce the render resolution. I can increase my viewport resolution, but we won't get the real mesh. So if I wanted to get the real mesh resolution, I would increase the main resolution, and we can make this even higher. But right now, still we see the calculation is taking a little bit longer, but our viewport doesn't represent the rendering resolution or calculation resolution. So I'll increase that to the same amount, and you will see now we get really high resolution, which is just only wires anymore. So you can get really detailed ocean surface out of this procedural object. Let me dial that back to a normal resolution, and also let's just bring that in sync so we have can adjust the resolution here. The next thing we can do is we can set a seed, because you can have multiple ocean objects, and what you don't want to have in an animation is when all the ocean objects have the exact same waves. That would look just funny, because you would get something like this. All the objects are going up and have the same wave pattern. That's nothing you want. So for that you can give every ocean object its own random seed. So every random seed will create a different wave pattern, a completely different wave pattern. So I'm just changing the random seed, and it will give you a different wave pattern here. The next thing is the time scale. So you can turn this ocean movement either into a slow motion or a time-lapse situation. So first let's go slow motion with our ocean movement. I'll dial it down, and now we have a slow motion. Let me dial this a little bit up. I just overdone it. So as you can see now the ocean moves much slower. But let's bring it back to 0, because I want to show you another really cool feature we have with the finalRender ocean object. And once more, finalRender free is actually free for you. It's free to use, for you to have forever. Just go to our webpage and download it, and then you can start playing around with that. So the cool feature I wanted to show you here is the cycle. When I turn on this cycle feature, something really amazing happens. The ocean calculation, all the mathematics behind, you set your cycle duration, and when you watch now, whenever it's at 100 and jumps back to 0, it's a perfect smooth cycle. So you can have cycling ocean waves. And that's really cool, because creating ocean waves in a loop or cycle is usually hard to achieve. Another really interesting feature is, and there we come from, because I said we have the mesh size, which is the actual size of our mesh we see, and we have ocean size, which is the virtual size of our ocean. Usually you want to have them match them, but there's no reason for that. We can have a feature called level of detail, and for that I'm creating a camera here. So I just created a physical camera, and we are going back into, let me just turn that off, the wireframe. We're going back in here, say optimize mesh to camera, and watch now when I pick the camera, something interesting happens. Suddenly the ocean is optimized for the camera view. When I move my camera, let me just move there. You can see the ocean is always updated, and you see it's an endless ocean. So when I move with my camera, let's have both, I can fly over the ocean and it will be endless. So you can fly for hours and hours across the ocean, and you will always get new wave patterns and everything. So you can do really cool, amazing things without killing your 3D Studio Max memory. It will just create the ocean for your camera view. And yes, we have settings as well. So you can have the radius, where is the cutoff in the distance. And we also have a cutoff in the start. Let me just dial that in. So here's the cutoff in the beginning, where we say, okay, that's the offset from the camera. And we have also the details, how fine we want to have our level of detail happening. You can see close to the camera, we have really high detail. And towards the end of camera, we have less detail in the distance. So, and this is all done automatic. So you can just move around your camera, adjust what you want, move the camera around, and you will always see your ocean surface. And this is still fully animatable, so you can fly over a moving ocean and do all these kinds of amazing things with the ocean object. Keep in mind, this is our free finalRender version, and it comes with this free ocean object. Now let me show what you can do with it. As I mentioned, it's a standard 3D Studio fully procedural object, so it works with everything in 3D Studio Max. You can even grab the mesh and do whatever you want, displace it again, extrude it, do a shell modifier, whatever you want. It's just a standard mesh, you can use that. Let me just bring up another scene here. And for that, we just go into our ocean sample. Here, with this little scene, I place the ocean object, as you can see here. Ocean object, and we have some islands in the distance. And because I'm lazy, I just did a very simple thing with the islands. I used our finalRender MTD micro displacement modifier. The finalRender MTD comes with finalRender free, so you get that on top as well for free. So you can create amazing, highly optimized displacements for rendering with finalRender free and adjust it. So what I did is I just threw in a bitmap to displace these planes, and there we go. There we have our island in the distance. And another thing is I have this box object here floating above, and we also have a daylight system with this, sun and sky and everything. So a pretty simple setup. And as I mentioned, we have here our ocean object. And it's an ocean object, so it's animated. We have the waves going on here. Can do all kinds of amazing effects. So let me just bring up how I set up the scene, and let's have some fun. So what we have here in addition is, where do the clouds come from? These clouds here. Where do they come from? This is not a bitmap. This is not from our daylight system. These clouds are real volumetric rendering effects. And these clouds are done with our, let me just go to the environment. And with the environment, we will see our finalRender environment fog, which is a really advanced ray marching, fully volumetric volume rendering system. And how it works is pretty simple. We have this container, this gizmo box. That is our volume we want to render our effect in. And then we just pick the gizmo box, and then we know, okay, this is our placement for the clouds. So what does that mean? It means when we move our cloud object, I can just move the clouds away. And you see they're self-shadowing, they're fully volumetric, and you can create all kinds of amazing effects with it. So let me just move back the clouds. And this is not a bitmap, it's really 3D volumetric clouds you see here. So we can adjust the density. Let me just bring it back to the real deal here, where we do the full ray marching effect, and you can see now I have really high density in the clouds, and we get just a silver lining on the outside. So this is all calculated with our system here. When I reduce the density, let me just reduce this a little bit more, maybe a little bit more, then we get these nice clouds, individual clouds there, and we have different light scattering inside of the volume. So the volume scatters the light from the sun and daylight, so we can create really interesting cloud effects with the system here. So how do I get and control these clouds? I can see here. The clouds are just standard noise, so if I wanted to make the cloud smaller, I would just go in here, and now we get a really small, nice cloud layers, and can make them bigger. So we get now bigger clouds, or even increase it a little bit more. And then with our noise, let me just bring that back so that they fade out from really. Let me just increase the density now. So we will see, let's just go in here. Oh, I've overdone the density. So we see, now we start to see again our clouds. 5. So you see, now we have from our noise level, let me just bring up the noise here. We see, okay, we have all this gray fading and only a little bit of dark where we see through, and the rest is all the density we have here. So to increase our density, we want to get more brightness in these areas, and I also don't want the fading out so fast, something like that. And this is our noise structure we have here. So let me just go here a little bit, and we have it, and then we can play around a little bit more with our light scattering inside the clouds. I love this kind of effect here. So as you can see, finalRender Free is very powerful. You can do a lot of things with it, and you can even create clouds, volumetric effects of all kinds. And oh, that looks even nicer. Let me just increase that. So yeah, I pretty like that. And as I mentioned, these clouds are confined or inside of our gizmo or box we have here. So we can change the height, for example. Where's the height? Here's the height. So we can make them really flat. So let me just move that a little bit more down, and now we can even see the top of the clouds here. And we also have fall off option that we can adjust so the end or outside of our box doesn't look so bad or strange. And if we wanted, we can set our camera inside of the cloud as well, so we can fly through clouds. But usually when you have a camera inside of a volume, that's not really a good idea here. Oh, I've overdone it again. So we're touching the ground. Let me just move up my clouds, move them up a little bit, something like that. So that looks good. So as you can see, with finalRender, we can really adjust in real time all the settings and parameters and things. I hope you enjoyed this little live stream. As I mentioned, the idea of this live stream was just to show you when you get finalRender Free, you get also the fR-Ocean object with it, the displacer, and the volumetric rendering. Everything is in there in the finalRender Free version. Thanks for watching this live stream, and I hope to see you again soon. And yeah, stay safe. Goodbye.